This is, not my time of the day, it's really early in the morning. This is my time to be plugged into the matrix, to be in the rat race, achieve, acquire. And then something happens to me after midnight when the day is over, I become really relaxed. And then I have these existential thoughts and I start thinking about other things. And this thing always fascinates me. I find the universe to be in some kind of dichotomy. I want you to explain that to me. I know you can elaborate on it because I've seen you talk for so long on YouTube. I know you'll tell me something. Because I've never been able to figure it out.
See, I never said your movie was too long.
Sir, you'll have to take it up with Mr. Bansali. मैंने तो कहा था.
No.
उनके scenes काटो, मेरे scenes डालो, मैंने तो कहा था. So, there's light, darkness, black, white, yes, no. Life, death. I always find the universe to be in some kind of dichotomy,
Is that the sense in which you're talking about?
But is it do you find that too?
No, I want to understand in what sense are you calling it as a dichotomy?
When I have these thoughts, I'm like, there's always two things at play, in every aspect of life, big, small, there's always an opposite. Can you elaborate on that?
I need a few minutes.
Yeah. भारी सवाल पूछा है भाई ने.
Before coming to the dichotomy, the very way you're characterizing yourself and the question that you're asking itself is a dichotomy. People always thought Charlie Chaplin was very funny. But if you listen to his private talks and things like that, there was a deep sense of agony in him.
He was especially sensitive to the agonies of life.
Yes.
What an artist.
But when you see him on the screen, he just made it just so ridiculously funny, hilarious all the time. Everything, every step, every act, not just some act, just every step and every act is hilarious. If you sit if you sit watching a Charlie Chaplin movie, you don't laugh at a particular thing, you just laugh at everything. So because there was such a deep agony, he decided, instead of sharing this agony with people, he decided at least he'll make them laugh, and because somewhere he understands this agony could exist in a whole lot of people, in different measure, of course. So when we say dichotomy, we're talking about contradictions. You said light and darkness, let's take that because that's a very basic, day and night, light and darkness. There are many ways to look at this. One fundamental way is like this. There is light right now. You know there is light right now only because you have seen darkness. Suppose, let us say, 24 hours of the day, everything from your childhood, everything was lit, you would not know what is light. So you know light only because in some way you have tasted darkness. You know what is white only because you've seen the black. You know what is a man only because you've seen a woman. You know what's a day only because you've seen a night. So, what seems to be contradictory on the logical level of your mind, in terms of making of life, they're complementary to each other. They're working with each other but pretending to be opposite to each other. This is why in this culture, everywhere in the world, not just here, in one way or the other they figured this and they made it in so many ways, they called it yin and yang, here we called it Shiva Shakti. And if you see the images of Shiva, one half of him is man, another half of him is woman, physically. Because what is being depicted here is, this is the nature of physical existence. As long as your experience of life is limited to physical. When I say physical, right now everything that you can see has to be physical, isn't it so? Can you see something that's not physical? Can you hear something that's not physical? Can you smell, taste or touch that which is not physical? Or in other words, your entire experience of life is physical, even your thought and emotion is physical. We can measure it today. We can measure your thought and emotion, that means it's physical. So your whole experience of life is limited to the physical dimension of the existence. And the very nature of physicality can only happen with this. Even if you take the basic electric charges, there is a positive and a negative. Without that, it will not work. If you take an atom, there are positives and negatives. So the very construction of physical nature is between two opposites or two complementary dimensions of life. So when you live here, if you live here with the necessary perception, in a very brief amount of time, one can realize this contradiction or this complementary nature of these two things can go on playing endlessly upon you without taking you anywhere. When you realize that the physical will not get you anywhere, that is when you turn spiritual. It does not mean you rejected the physical. You're still living in the body, you're still living in this world. It is physical, but this is the longing of every human being. It's not just some spiritual person. Every human being is trying to touch something beyond what they are right now. If you know money, you're just thinking more money. If you know power, you're thinking more power. If you know pleasure, you're thinking more pleasure. If you know love, more love. If you know knowledge, more knowledge. Whatever it is, you're always trying to touch something more. If it finds this longing to become something more, if it finds a very basic physical expression, we call this sexuality. All you're trying to do is be something more than what you are. Something that's not you, you're trying to make it a part of yourself. If it finds an emotional expression, we call this love. Once again, emotionally you're trying to make something that is not you as a part of yourself. If it finds a mental expression, it gets labeled as greed, ambition, conquest, or simply shopping. Something that's not you, you're trying to make it yourself. But if it finds a conscious expression, then we call it yoga. Yoga means union. Yoga doesn't mean twisting and turning. Yoga means union. Why do you have to know union? Because that's the nature of the existence. On the surface, it seems contradictory. If you go deep enough, suddenly it is not contradictory. There is a union. What is it that separates you from the rest? Right now, all of you can do this experiment, you also. Take your right hand and touch your left hand. Is that you?
I mean…
Is that you?
It's a part of me.
It's not you?
It's me.
It's you. Touch this seat on which you're sitting. Is that you?
Now I'll go very deep, Guruji. I can also do.
Go go as deep as you are. It's not you, obviously.
No, yaar, it is me, yaar. Everything is me.
Everything is
Pura Brahman.
Hmm?
You know, I believe… Yeah, everything is…
This is a problem of being born in India.
You only said it. You only said it.
That is, too much spiritual jargon is all over the place without any living experience.
This is what happens. This is what happens when you watch too much late night Sadhguru on YouTube.
Everybody is talking Anda, Pinda, Brahmanda, but even if a mosquito bites, it bothers them. So, it clearly tells you, this is me, this is not me. What is telling you this? It's just your sensations, isn't it? Here if you touch, there is a sensory response. Here if you touch, there is no sensory response. Or in other words, what you're saying is, whatever is within the boundaries of my sensation is me. Whatever is outside the boundaries of my sensation is not me, isn't it so? Isn't it so? There's water in this, nothing else, okay? Because this happened, I had to go for one match, I had to go to Petersburg and come back to Moscow for another match. So at the airport, we had these days they don't give me plastic bottles of water, they always have glass bottles of water. There's a glass bottle and that has the same shape as usually how the vodka bottles are made, you know. And this bottle came in the screening in the airport and the lady said, you can't take it. So the person who was with me pulled out the bottle and said, Sadhguru, would you like to drink? I took it up and I started drinking. I drank half the bottle. That lady's face just went pale. She started telling the other secretary, he's just drinking, he's drinking. Then this person is trying to explain to her, no, it's water, but she doesn't understand a word of English. She's just started almost getting hysterical, he's drinking half a bottle of vodka right here. Then we went close and showed it's printed in Russian, it is water. Then she said, but the bottle was like that. So, the question is this, there is water here, is this you? Hello? No. If you drink it, does it become you? Yes, right now over 70% of your body is water. So what was outside, if you include it into the boundaries of your sensation, it becomes you, isn't it? And this is how you gathered this entire body. The food that you eat and the water that you drink, slowly you gathered into the boundaries of your sensation and now it feels 100% like you.
I'm gathering a lot of protein these days.
So, what is not you becomes you every day. Every day it's happening to you. What yoga means is, you make your life energy so exuberant that your sensory body expands. You heard a phantom leg, somebody lost a leg, though their physical leg is gone, they still have all the sensory leg in place. Because sensory body has a presence of its own. If you become very exuberant within yourself, you will see your sensory body will spread. Suppose your sensory body became as large as this hall, you would experience all these people just as you experience your hands and fingers. If your sensory body became as large as this universe, you experience the entire universe as a part of yourself. That is when somebody calls you that you are a yogi, that means you have experienced the union. Now, if for one moment, if you experienced all these people, really like how you experience your body, you experienced all these people for just one moment, after that, do I have to teach you morality? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not harm. Do you have to teach them various kinds of morality? What is a part of you? You have no issue with it of any kind, isn't it? This is what essentially spiritual process means. That is, you transcended the limitations of your physical existence. Spirituality does not mean looking up or looking down. Spiritual process means you understood the limitations of physical and extended your experience to something beyond your physical nature. Because what is physical about you is fully accumulated from outside. Even the first 2 cells was given to you by somebody, isn't it? Hello? Even the first 2 cells are not yours, your parents gave it to you, rest of it is just earth. Most people don't get it till you bury them. But if you get it right now, that what you're carrying as my body is just a piece of the planet. What you're carrying as my mind is just what you gathered from the society in which you exist. Beyond this, there is something called life. This must come into your experience. If that comes into your experience, This dichotomy business is gone because this contradictory nature or complementary nature of opposites is only related to the physical existence. Physical is like the peel of a fruit. The peel of the fruit is there only as a protective layer. But right now we have made a world where people are busy eating the peel. But the problem with the peel is, if it was totally bitter, by now everybody would be enlightened. The problem is there are spots of sweetness in the peel. People are trying to make juice out of that.